Like I have these talks with my kids and I tell them what my upbringing was like and they're like, Dad, I'm sorry you went through this. And I'm like, no, please, I go through it a million times over because that's what molded me into the man that I am, that's allowed me to be the father that I am to you. Because the truth is, from the time I was like 16, I told myself if I ever have children, they're not gonna feel what I felt. Just like if my daughter got in trouble for getting into a fight because somebody hit her and we go up to the school and they're like, look, we have a no hitting back policy. I'm like, I could care less what your policy is. Like, my policy is if someone hits her, she defends herself. It's like, from the beginning, I kept telling my people, like, yo, look, bro, at the end of the day, I want us all to be rich. But I need us to realize it's not gonna happen at the same time for everyone.
Welcome. For those of you who just tuning in, this is Just Dad in the podcast, where we give dads their flowers. I go by the name of Chocolate Dad.
It's your boy Styles.
It's your man, Fire. Welcome to another episode of Just Dad in the podcast. Like we tell you every week, like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a stranger. I want to say a huge shout out and thank you to everybody who supported our back to school drive. It was a huge success. We appreciate it.
Every donation, every book bag, every supply.
Yeah, snack. Shout out to the Stu Barbershop for supplying haircuts for the children. That was dope. When we first even started this podcast, it was something that we all wanted to do, right? We all obviously knew dads and see some season, of course, but it's about promoting the dopeness of being a father, like giving them their flowers, and a part of that is also giving back to your community. And we're really happy and really proud of the success of it. And, seeing the kids and knowing that like in 10, 15 years, these are the kids who are gonna be leading our culture. And for me, if one of those kids was like, hey, like that was cool that those guys did that. And then in 10 years does something like that for someone else, wherever they are else in the world, wherever they're doing it, then I feel like we've left a very positive impact on the world and our community. So shout out to everybody for that, man. Shout out to you guys too, man. We was lit, man. We had a good time.
Real quick, I want to say just what I felt like was most important for me. Because everybody got their own aspect, their own views on it. For me, it was giving back to those, those single families who really can't, buy them supplies for their kids, or mom can't afford a haircut the first day of school.
Or dads.
Or dads.
Take away that anxiety of that first.
Yeah.
It's one thing off the list that we was able to give them to get them right for the school year.
Yeah. Because when they send like the back to school list from school, that should be like a CVS receipt. I'm like, I need all of this to do
I
what?
don't remember it being like that when we was kids, man.
Nah, me neither.
Schools took care of all that for the most part.
You just needed two number 2 pencils.
That's what I remember.
Yo, I
and that
remember,
was kind of hard to get.
Listen, you needed. I remember needing a notebook, and my parents are Haitian. On plume, on crayon, and that's it. That's all you needed. And then school gave you whatever else or whatever.
More money now.
It's a different time. And like I said, we're very happy that we were able to give back and do something for them. So we'll keep that going. We'll see what Thanksgiving is going to be here just now. So we'll see about trying to get something done for Thanksgiving too. Obviously you all can see we got ourselves a very special guest in the studio. Our man Mo. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, man?
What's up, people? My name is Moses Verneau. I'm a writer/director. Created the show Money and Violence, as well as The Spot, as well as Black. Also a writer for the show Godfather of Harlem, American Gods, and working on a few other things.
That's fire.
That's dope.
A lot of people haven't, not a lot of people, I didn't know that you wrote for American Gods, but that's a show that I enjoy. And a lot of people don't watch it. With a few people, when I do find that, when we talk about it, we'll sit there and talk for hours about that show because it gets so
in depth.
It's so deep into mythology and a lot of things that people aren't really thinking about that we all talk about, like Easter and Christmas and stuff. And you're like, ain't that some shit? But
I caught the first season and I didn't catch the rest. But the first season caught me. I just didn't have the time really to even sit and watch it. It definitely pulled me.
I mean, it was different for me, in all honesty, writing for that show. I'm very well-versed and I'm very diverse, but it took me a while to find my footing simply because American Gods operates in its own little world. You know what I mean? So for me to really get myself acclimated with the rules of that world, what the gods can do, what they can't do, what the humans can do, and also just research, you know, researching on the different gods, the different cultures, you know, because for those who don't know, American Gods is pretty much a show that's about all the different immigrants that came to America. Not only did they come, but what they did is they brought their religious beliefs. So they brought their gods with them. And these gods are kind of warring. It's almost like social media because they're warring for followers.
But there is a social media god.
Yeah, there is a social media god because, but that was our spin on today, right? On modern times, because technology has become a god because people worship that now.
Yeah.
You know, but the more followers they gain, the stronger they are in power. You know, and you've watched the show, you know, you have Odin, who is pretty much trying to manipulate all the gods so that he can become the all-powerful.
That's dope. Obviously you're on the show, not only, you know, because, you know, you're a dope man, but you also obviously are a father, right?
Correct.
A father of all girls, though.
All girls. I have 3 daughters, ages from 23, 18, and 3 years old.
That must be tough.
Actually,
All girls? I mean, I could feel the love that you get, but now you just gotta.
You know what's so crazy is, although I'm a man, I've always been maternal, right? My kids, starting from my oldest daughter, was always, when she was born, was always joined at the hip to me, you know what I mean? And that's how it's always been. Like even my 3-year-old, when my 3-year-old, her first year, I took care of her 98% of the time. And it was simply because, you know, her mother had a conventional 9 to 5 and I work from home. Like I create my own schedule. So I was like, yo, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. You know what I mean? And her mother had to wake up in the morning. So I was the one that did the middle of the night feedings every single day. I don't know, like, I just have that maternal bone. It's just weird, bro. it's weird, but
Would you say there's a point somewhere in your life that would say, this is where you got it from?
the funny thing is, you're Haitian, right?
Yeah.
We all Haitian.
All of y'all are Haitian. Okay, y'all all Haitian. So my mother wasn't. Yeah, my mother wasn't affectionate. Right? It was just discipline.
I don't think any Haitian.
But this is some of them.
Young.
That's not true because I have a cousin whose mother was very affectionate, right? And then you have the fact that my dad was never there. Crazy story. My father lived in my building, right? He lived on the first floor. I lived on the second floor. I didn't find out that was my father till I was like 14 years old.
What?
That's insane.
Right? And then a week after my aunt told me, my mother was upset at my aunt for telling me.
Of course.
A week after my aunt told me, like he approached me in the lobby, he was like, so you know? I was like, yeah. So he was like, okay.
I'm like, damn, you knew.
And it went right back to us not really speaking to each other. But what's crazy is, as I've matured as a man and I've become to learn life, my question isn't why didn't my dad love me? My question is, damn, I wonder what my dad went through that made him the type of person that was incapable. Right? Because I feel sorry for him, because as a man, I know how the world treats us. I know what we go through. Now that I'm older, you understand? So that's allowed me to have more of an understanding. You understand what I mean? Because look, let me tell you something. My oldest daughter is 23. Her mother kept that child out of my life for 10 years. Her mother told me she was going on vacation to Florida for a week and didn't come back for 7 years. And while the entire time telling my daughter that I wanted nothing to do with her. You get where I'm coming from? And I'm not saying that that's what my mother did, because every situation isn't that. But what I've come to learn is to approach these situations with understanding.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very mature thing to, like, I don't think I've ever heard anybody express it in that way, because majority of the time when you hear that, like, you know, an absentee parent, mother or father, for whatever reason, you know, people tend to harbor resentment, like, why weren't they there? Why weren't they? What's going on? For you to actually consciously, like I'm sure something must have happened that there's a reason for it. And like, like as you said, mentioned before, right? As men, we all go through stuff and whatever. So that is a very mature way of looking at it. Do you feel as though that has affected your parenting? Like, or how so, if it has?
I think it made me a better father. And the reason being is, you know, like I have these talks with my kids and I tell them what my upbringing was like, and they're like, Dad, I'm sorry you went through this. And I'm like, no, please, I'd go through it a million times over, because that's what molded me into the man that I am, that's allowed me to be the father that I am to you. Because the truth is, you know, from the time I was like 16, I told myself, if I ever have children, they're not gonna feel what I felt. You understand? So the truth, I mean, it had an adverse effect. I mean, some people grow up in fatherless homes and they repeat the cycle. It makes them think that that's the norm. Whereas with me, it just made me feel like my kids are never going through this.
I always had that question too. Like, do you think that people, it's hard to really say when you don't, unless somebody on here, I mean, I guess in a sense, it's hard to ask that question to somebody that changed up the way, like you said, that had a different reaction to it. But then I always been wondering, like, just because a father isn't there, does that make it normal to you? Because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's normal, because you're still lacking something, so then you're missing something, so it's not normal.
I mean, but to a degree, you have to understand. Okay, for me, for instance, my 18-year-old, right? Me and her mother broke up when she was about, I think she was probably like 5, right? And then I had a girlfriend who, me and her were together for like 4.5 years. And of course, after 2 years of being together, when we started contemplating and, you know, considering the idea of living together, I'm like, okay, well, if we're gonna live together, you have to meet my child. So, I mean, first thing I did, of course, was brought my girlfriend to meet my child's mother, because that's just out of respect. And then when she came into my child's life, like, my daughter loved her to death, you know what I mean? And when we broke up, like, my daughter actually cried. And like, I sat my daughter down and I said, listen, I need you to understand that this isn't normal. What you're watching isn't normal. Like, you saw me and your mother be together, we broke up, it didn't work out. Now you see me and her together, we broke up, it didn't work out. I need you to understand that the goal is to meet someone, fall in love, get married, be together for the rest of your life. Because what we don't realize is, yes, our kids learn from what we say, but they also learn from what they're watching us do. And I think that that's the important thing, right? I think the important thing is to have the conversations, you know, with your children. So in those situations where the absent father, you know, 99% of the time, it's a situation where the mother's so emotional. If it's not talking down about the dad, there's really no dialogue there about it.
It's almost like a ghost in a sense.
Yeah, like it's almost like the elephant in the room that no one talks about. And I think, you know, never underestimate how intelligent children are and what you can talk to them about. You know what I mean? And
they're extremely observant. They observe not only what they see, but what they, you know, even, you know, the energy and the feelings. That's all stuff that comes in, and you don't know how that's going to translate outwards. So when they might act or be away, you know, having those conversations to see like where that has come from. And I think that's also a newer thing, I think, for like, you know, our second generation, third generations of Americans from West Indian households, at least, of having speaking, period. Like us growing up, like you only spoke when you were spoken to, and you only said something when, you know, they asked you a question, and that was it. So don't say nothing about nothing. So even if you saw, you know, Jean-Claude and Marie Antoinette, whatever, doing something, you didn't say nothing, and it didn't matter because you knew as a child not to say anything. But
I don't think it's just like in the Caribbean household. I just think it's something. It's just generalized, because like my lady, she has Tia. She has a firearm. So when she gets dressed, go to work, like sometimes Steph will ask her like, "Mommy, what is that?" He's not dumb. He know it's a gun. So she say it's a firearm and it's dangerous. But I had to tell her, like, no, you have to let him know, like, no, it's because he's gonna ask you, what's a firearm? Now you beating around the bush. So be straight with him. Tell him it's a gun. It's dangerous. You cannot use it. It's not for you. It's for police officers. It's for people in law enforcement. You should never touch a gun. Like, you should let him know that. Like, there's a toy gun. This is not a toy gun. This is a real gun. And I had to get her to understand, like, this is what you need to speak to them as if they, you know, a person. Like, don't
just
try to dumb it down or go around the corner.
When it's
like,
time to
let
talk
them
about
understand.
sex, you're gonna do the same thing?
when it's time to talk about sex, yeah. I feel like we like
His virgin. I know.
Are you saying that because
he's
you
a
have
boy?
a boy? Yeah.
And that's my next question, exactly. That's my next question.
I know, yo.
No,
your
but
version of beef talk is
It's
gonna be
easier.
ridiculous.
It's easier for me to talk to him because he's a boy.
Yeah, of
yes.
course.
But I think if when I have a girl, I think it should be a conversation with both of us.
But
I think that conversation should
I
happen.
think both y'all anyway.
For me, even as far as sex, I mean, listen, my tactic has been this, right? Since my daughter was a child, I've always told her, when you have your first kiss, daddy wants to know. When you have your first kiss, daddy wants to know, right? I want you to tell me. And she, and as she got older, like she's like, Dad, like you still want me to tell you? And I'm like, yeah. And the reason being is because I've always wanted her to be comfortable, right? So that when it happens, it doesn't feel like I have to hide this from my dad, because my dad always told me he wants to know,
But I mean, of everybody here, I'm the only one thus far who will have had the conversation with both boy and girl, right? My daughter, she's gonna be 16 next week, actually, and obviously my son just turned 2. So even her, like when she first,
So he's not like 28 months right now. He's just 2.
she's 2. And technically it'll be 23 months, but it's cool.
Nobody's counting.
Right, nobody's counting. He's 2 now. He's just 2. He's just 2 going on freaking 15, this kid. But when even like normalizing those kind of conversations and letting them know how it's okay to just be free and open about these things. Like I remember when she first was becoming a young woman, right, and menstruating, it wasn't like speaking to her mom, my fiance, like I went out and I got like snacks and everything to make it comfortable to be like, yo, like this is something that's always gonna be happening. I want you to feel comfortable with it. If you are in any discomfort, like you can come to us. If your mom's not here, you can come to me and express whatever it is. So even like now, she might be like, yo, Chris, we about to be out of pads, go run in Target, or listen, like there's no more Tylenol, I need some, it's coming this week or whatever. Being able to talk about that, even when it comes to like, she's in high school now, she's about to be a junior, and talk about things of like, like if you like a boy, you like a boy. You know what I mean? She's like, it is what it is. I just want you to know what the dangers are, what things to look out for. And more than anything else, I tell her, look out more for girls than guys, because, I mean, I can't speak for anybody. For me, I feel like more times than not, guys have better friends at that younger age, because I feel like, I can't say what it is, but it's like, real cliquish with girls, with things, like today I like
even as adults.
Yeah, I mean, even as adults, but I know it was a lot worse then. I mean, back then or whatever.
Is it?
But
Is it?
I mean, I think it's a different degree because they don't have the same understanding as they do as adults. I think as you become older, it becomes there's a lot more malice involved. As a kid, I think they don't really know what it is, and so it's a lot just off the cuff, versus I think it's a lot more intentional as they become adults.
I would agree, but unfortunately, like we live in a world now that is bombarding kids with so much information at such an early age before they can put things into perspective that, I think about my daughter telling me, her freshman year in high school, coming home, and she's like, Dad, like I'm in the cafeteria and this little girl's talking about how she only talks to guys for money and blah, blah, blah. And you have to understand that this is going on as early as junior high school, so it's like the world that we live, it's no longer the world we grew up in.
No, it's absolutely not.
So it's difficult, man, to gauge it.
It is, and it's so fluid, and that's why I want to continue to always have those conversations with her and my kids, because like when we were younger, things that went on in school and high school, things that I've seen, I can't go to my parents and I'm like, yo, son, homie in the cafeteria wild out and gave homie $1.50. Like, what my parents gonna do with that? Put me on a boat and send me to Haiti thinking it's safer? Like what are we gonna do?
Yeah, but we're a different type of parent, though.
Exactly, and that's why it's very important knowing what's on social media, because like we grew up before the internet, during the internet, now with everything that's going on, and we're learning these new things as they are also. So it's a lot easier now for us to have this conversation, like, hey, listen, I see what's X, Y, and Z or whatever. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, and I also think like we're more relatable, right? For instance, like my daughters tell me like, Dad, like you're really like the flyest guy I know. Like you understand what I'm saying? It wasn't like that with my parents. You get where I'm coming from? Like my, I went to my daughter's high school graduation in some off-white fours and an off-white shirt, you know what I'm saying, with some essential shorts.
regular
like,
shit,
yeah, you get what I'm saying?
regular.
Yeah, like my parents would have been there in a suit. You get what I'm saying? So
like 80 degrees, 90 degrees, suited up.
Yeah, you know,
sweating.
and my daughter had some runs on. Like, it was like, come on, let's go. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? So I think we're just a little more relatable. I think the only disconnect sometimes is from the father to the daughter because, you know, like I told you, like I'm a single father. My daughter's mother died when she was 13 and she's been with me ever since. And being that she's a female and I'm a guy, no matter how comfortable we are as daughter and dad, there's still things that she feels a little weird to talk to me about.
And that's natural, but I also, and something we talked about in previous episodes too, is I just want her to always know that it's a lot of open communication is always available. So no matter, even if you feel uncomfortable with it, you might go to your mom first or some aunts or whatever first, and that's no problem. But you still want you to be able to say, I can still go to my dad if I need to, you know, because I know growing up, I'm sure my sisters would probably never talk to my dad about none of that stuff. Like they would never be like, hey, my parents come. Like, no, that's a conversation only for moms.
Neither one of our parents, period, though. Like there was no line of communication
it was
whatsoever.
like, it was like either you needed something for school, life, and
it was almost like it was a business transaction. So anytime we had a conversation,
that was it. When you need something,
might have felt like a free roaming kind of jail in a way. You
I
know?
only had one. Like I can only think of one time I had like a heart to heart with my mom. Out of all the years, but now we speak because you're older.
You're older.
Now it's easier. It was one time I was 15. She was taking me to an audition, and I just found out that my biological father is not. Well, my father is not my biological father. Just through my brother being nosy, going through a birth certificate. Because you know they ain't tell us.
Yeah, of course not.
She's like,
you a kid, they don't have to.
Yeah, that's why I said, of course. You know your pops would, he ain't gonna tell you. So of course she was mad at your aunt because you know no one should. That's a secret for the family that the kids can't know. So when we found out, and she knew she felt like I was mad at her because even though I needed her to take me to audition, like I didn't want to be there with her, and she felt the vibe. So that's the first time we actually had like a hot dog. She's like, you know, I was waiting till you guys are older. I'm like, oh, 15. Like, how old were you waiting for me to get? Like, am I at that
You gonna tell me on my deathbed?
I was about to say that. See, I'm dying.
At that
By the way,
time, my brother is like 16. I'm like, yo, we're old enough. Like, this is stuff that, you know, you can have a conversation with us about. And that's the first time, you know, we talked about it and we had any sort of conversation on any emotional level. Other than that, like you said, it's a transaction. It's mine. I need this for this. I need that for that. Like,
I find those days too, there was like family. I don't think it was even Haitian. Family was just mad secretive. Like around those years, like if you was born like in the 50s and on or something like that, it was mad secretive. There's always some secret. Like uncle ain't your uncle. Yeah, this person ain't this person. This person is not the friend. This is so and so's cousin. Like, but then today is just like. That's the part I do like about today. Like kids, for most part, are more open to being themselves. Despite, you know, of course, you have different things going on now, from sexuality to finances, all that stuff. But people are so much more open, innocent. So that we have to have the conversation with our kid because if you don't, somebody else is gonna have it. So you almost not even say I hate, but it's like you're forced to be the parent.
You have to.
You have to be.
Because as a guidance counselor, I'm gonna have that conversation.
You gotta have the conversation.
I'm okay with them coming to my office and saying, Mr. Remy, I need a pad. I'm like, all right, cool. Look, the pads is over there. Go get a pad or go see so-and-so to get a pad. Mr. Remy, I need a condom. Bro, I got a drawer full of condoms. Check the dates because they might be expired.
But see, but that's part of what I think is missing because what I've always said is children are supposed to receive two educations, one at school and one in the home. Without the communication, there is no education taking place in the home. Like the school is there to teach. And I always make this clear, like as far as my children and the school is like, look, just like if my daughter got in trouble for getting into a fight because somebody hit her and, you know, we go up to the school and they're like, look, you know, we have a no hitting back policy. I'm like, I could care less what your policy is. Like my policy is if someone hits her, she defends herself. You're here to teach her the basics, science, math, reading, history. I'm here to teach her life. That's not your job. You understand? So if y'all want to suspend her, she'll go stay home, watch TV for 4 days. Who cares? You know what I mean? But that's not your job to teach my child life. You know, but once again, without that,
that's the battle, right? So I feel like, because I work in a school, I feel like we should be preparing them for life, though. As far as life decision making, maybe not. Like that's something that should come from home, but letting them know like when you leave here, it's bigger than just math, science, history, or whatever it is.
But how do you really teach a kid that in school? What's outside of life when the school is
Because
such
that's why I feel like
contained
we should have these life skill programs. Like I didn't know how to cook, do laundry, and that's something, you know, my mom is Haitian, so she does it all. She'll wake up, she'll cook breakfast, she'll do laundry. I can sit there and watch her, but she never actually taught me.
See, my mom taught me. That's the funny
but
part.
then my mom didn't teach me. So I had to learn all that while I was away at school by myself. But I feel like we incorporate these programs in school where we teach them how to do laundry.
But they used to have certain things like that,
that's
right?
fine.
Because they used to have like home ec and things like that.
We had
They don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore.
I know what I'm saying. Like, those programs used to be.
When I say life, I'm not referring to like, you know,
Cooking,
cooking.
cleaning.
I'm talking about as far as how to think.
Yeah, how to act outside of here.
Like that's my job as a parent. And the reason being is because, you know, the school can't teach a child life because you have different parents, different religions, different cultures, different ways of life. You understand? And you don't know what that parent wants to pass on to that child.
Right.
And that is their right. You understand what I mean? That's why with everything that's going on now, with the whole LGBT thing, you know, that's my only issue with it is, look, it is not for you to teach my child. It is for me to teach my child. You get where I'm coming from? Yes, I teach my child inclusion. You should love everyone. Everyone has the right to be happy in this world. You understand? But it is not for you to, but in the same breath, everyone has the right to be happy, but you also have the right to not like something.
That's a fact.
You get no one can deny you that right. You don't have the right to pretty much push your opinion on anyone else, but you have the right to not like something.
All right, now to flip this, right? To play devil's advocate about that situation, we're going to throw it lightly because
Of course.
some people.
Yeah, those are the subject is very
Yeah.
touchy.
Say dope.
Yeah, you gotta say you can't
He
say
said you can't say that.
All right, whatever.
That community, but continue,
that
yes.
community, right? So, but on the flip side, right? Maybe what I'm thinking, they trying to tell like kids how to do, like bring awareness to it, which I feel is parents' job to do it, should do it. But the schools are doing it because maybe they're trying to defend the people of that community that's in that school to other people to interact with them correctly. You know what I'm saying? So they feel like they take the initiative, like, listen, and we're not sure if home is teaching them or not, but we're gonna do it. And I feel like they doing it to teach them, but they never like have consent from home. So I feel like it should be a consent thing. I get you want to protect and make everybody feel equal and there's nobody better than anybody, or people know what's going on, but they took the initiative to just do it. So maybe it's just being done because they just want to protect.
No,
They don't do it in school though.
Nah, they don't do it in school. It's just the media and all that kind of stuff. You know?
But maybe that's the angle.
How you get consent from the world? They just put it out there. You understand? And
I guess
and
they,
everything.
I guess they feel. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm trying to. I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm just trying to bring light to it to understand it. Like that's the only thing I can think
there's
of.
no way.
to make
I
it-
can't. There's no.
How-
They can't
I mean,
explain
it's
it.
not-
There's
I
no
don't
way to
know.
understand it.
There
no way.
isn't. There isn't.
Because I try to see.
But you know, here's what I want to say about
I don't think
that,
there's a
right?
logical approach.
There isn't. I don't feel like there's a logical approach to it per se. I feel like the farthest I feel like it should go is kind of like when you do like a lot of jobs, right? You have like diversity and inclusion training and say, okay, look, listen, everybody's entitled to do their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to be who they choose to be and present how they present to be, which is fine. I do not have to agree with it. I will respect that you
just
are
have
who
to
you
abide by
are,
the rules.
which is fine. I will respect whoever you choose to be. I will respect that. But if it's not something that I choose to engage in or I
judge me for
like,
that.
you now cannot in turn tell me that I'm wrong for that. That's not the case, because if we really want to go, I mean, we don't want to go down the rabbit hole with it, but just being a black person, period, like, what are we talking about right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys just bypass that, right? Like, you know, in the beginning of like, you know, COVID and X, Y, and Z or whatever, right? How quickly did it take them to pass, you know, I forget the exact term, but a hate bill against, you know, Asians? And we've been here for hundreds of years, and it's like, shit, I'm still dealing with this
like
shit.
3 incidents, they said, oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
it.
So how
That was it.
You
That
know,
was
but
it.
but
Took
listen.
one little ride at Prospect Park, and that was it.
Yeah, but look, I believe that a lot of times, I mean, as black people, we act naive, right? If if you go to a bank and you want a loan, right? What are they going to do? They're going to look at your credit history, right? If you go to apply for a job, they're going to look at your resume. Why? Because by looking at your past, they can predict what you're going to do in the future. Look at this country's past, bro. Like, come on. You understand? And I really feel like we walk through life with blinders, pretending like as if we don't live where we live.
I would not hire America based
These
on their
people,
resume. Just
look,
saying.
The reality is these people don't have our best interest at heart. They don't.
No, of course they don't.
It's right
they're
there in
self-serving.
front of your face. You get where I'm coming from? This entire system was created to keep us down.
Correct. And it's self-serving to them, and it continuously still works, so they would not do anything about that.
In some instances, we keep each other down. Because
A lot of
we
it.
won't help each other.
Because it's systemic, right? It's systemic. You got to think how long, like, no, somebody didn't wake up just 100 years ago and say, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is something that's been systemic. And the same way that we are feeling on the oppressed side, the oppressors are also teaching their next of kin and their future generations how to continue doing the same thing. Yeah. So it's just a constant battle on both ends of them teaching them how to continue to do that stuff. And being like, crabs in the barrel, things of that nature. Us 5, 6 men in this room, right? We are very unique and very different. Most people can't have these conversations. Most people don't know how to have the conversation or how to articulate them and how to push forward and doing things like what we're doing, right? Putting positivity out there, acknowledging, giving people resources, things of that nature. It's not an everyday thing, and it's just so different. And so when people see it, originally, like, they might shy away from it because they just like, that's not like what it is. I'm just gonna stick to what I know because at least the things that I've been doing, I ain't dead. You know what I'm saying? I'm surviving. So people are very eerie to try something else or break the mold or say, hey, listen, yo, you got something going on. Let's see how this could potentially move forward or whatever. Because it's like, why? And then it's like, oh, if you do get something, well, how'd you do it? Because we're from the same place and we're not supposed to have shit. So the fact that you have some shit, you must have did something that I don't like or something else. So either I'm gonna kill you and just take it, or I don't want you to keep doing it anymore because now you're making us look bad because you're elevating.
You know what I thought was always strange, right? So when everything started happening for me and I started doing interviews with all these major platforms, the question that always really kind of bugged me out was when they would go, so how does it feel to be one of the ones that made it out?
They ask you that?
Yeah. How does it feel? So how does it feel to be one of the people that made it out? And I'm like, made it out of what?
Yeah.
The trap that you set for me? Like, oh my God, little monkey, you made it out the maze. How did you do this? Like, we set so many traps.
They want to know how you did because you can block off that door.
And it's not just me. I mean, I've seen countless people ask that question. Like, how does it feel to be one of the people that made it out? I've seen him ask Jay-Z that question.
Yeah.
Early in his career, like, yo, how does it feel to be one of the people that made it out? And it's like, made it out of what? And I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's exactly what you said, but it isn't even about teaching those that come after them how to continue the oppression. It's about creating a system, creating an environment and an atmosphere that will continue to oppress, right? So that they don't even have to actively do it anymore.
We're doing
Right, it's just by simply existing, I'm continuously moving this machine forward.
A friend of mine wrote this document, and it's called Goddess Black, GODDESS Black. And what it's about white supremacy, right? And what he explained is that white supremacy has existed for so long that it no longer requires anyone for it to exist.
Self-sufficient.
It is a self-sustaining entity, right? So it's 6 black men in here, but white supremacy is still in this room. You understand? You can be by yourself. White supremacy is still there, and it's simply because you've been oppressed for so long, the thoughts that are going through your mind, white supremacy is like gravity now. It's a force that's always there pushing you down. Like I'll give all of y'all a perfect example, right? So one of the young actors that I was working with, we went to the supermarket around my way. I get to the counter, he's like, yo, I forgot to get something. He goes back, couldn't find what he wanted. I'm waiting for him at the door. As he passes the counter, he goes, yo, I didn't find what I wanted. I didn't steal anything. So I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Like, he's like, nah, man, in my neighborhood, they'll call the cops on you. And I'm like, bro, you don't have to explain yourself. You have the right to go into a store and walk around for as long as you want and not buy anything. But then I thought about it, right? And I'm sure like y'all go through this. When I go to a department store, even if I buy something or I don't buy something, as I'm approaching the exit, I feel this bit of tension.
Yeah,
always.
definitely.
I
And I
feel
know I
this
pay
bit-
for the damn thing.
Yeah.
I know I
Bro,
do
but
that.
I feel
when
this
I
bit
pay
of
for it.
tension. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. But I feel this bit
nine out
of
of 10 times I
tension.
probably
Like
still
somebody's
don't.
gonna say something to me, or somebody's gonna try to grab me. And what I realized that a lot of us overlook, you get that feeling because, bro, that's trauma.
Of course.
That's a trauma response. That's PTSD from the trauma of living as a black person your entire life in America.
Yeah.
And that in itself is proof that there is a problem, but everybody pretends like there isn't.
And it's crazy.
I be
You know,
stealing shit, so
bro,
I be losing.
the fact that when you're driving and a cop car passes and you look in your rearview mirror to see if they're gonna
10 and 2, baby.
even though you know your license is good, your insurance is good, you know you didn't do anything.
10 and 2, music down,
It's still like
windows.
your heart stop real
Yo,
quick. Like,
bro, that's trauma.
Yo, it
It's
is.
crazy
That's
because I was talking to
insane.
this guy recently. I was telling you the story, and he was saying, and I thought about the same thing about trauma because he was talking with a bunch of men. Like this guy, he's makes money, he does very well for himself, but he was just like, he was part of some type of, without putting so much out, but he was part of some type of like panel of talking about some with education. And then he said they was trying to figure out why, this with the kids and his testing and so forth. But then he's sitting there, he's like, in his mind, he had 97% of it all together. Like, I could get to the answer of it. But he was so worried about not telling them that he didn't have 3% of it. And he said to himself, he realized what it is as black people, we are afraid to even be wrong or even lie. Or in a sense, he said the next guys come in, and then just like, we got to figure it out. But he's like, I know they ain't figured out. But he's like, that 3%, he's stuck on that 3%.
Because we don't get second chances.
Yeah, and he's like, he was so stuck on that 3% that he didn't want to even say, I could figure it out. These guys went in and took the deal without even having the full 100% of it done. And
Because
he's like,
they're allowed to fail.
yeah, and he said that. He's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
we always are afraid to lie. And then he's like, he said lack of better words of lying, but it's just like, we're afraid to say we don't know. But even think back of anything, from slavery to anything, if you're wrong, the repercussions of us being wrong is never as simple as, okay, don't worry about it. And then
Or
you
try
get
again.
try again. It'd be death. It's locked up. It's everything. Especially as black
So-
men. And on top of that,
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was
finish
just
that
gonna
point.
say it's so crazy because it's just like when that incident happened in Buffalo, right? Where the dude went up there and shot all those black people. Yo, I swear to you, because I watched the video, and I have a friend of mine who always tells me, yo, stop watching these videos. You know what I mean? Because you don't realize it, but
what it's doing to you.
it does something to every last one of us. You know what I mean? She compared it. She said, listen, it's the same way how they used to hang slaves, right, in front of every other slave in the plantation, or they used to have horses rip them apart. Like, it's traumatized. They know exactly what they're doing. I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I swear to you, bro, 3 days later, I'm in the gym. And I feel uncomfortable listening to my music. Why? Because in the back of my mind, all I'm thinking is, yo, I need to be aware, because if a mass shooter comes in here, I need to hear from the first shot so I can have myself prepared to know what I'm gonna do. And I'm like, yo, why am I thinking about this in the gym?
Yeah, 'cause
And
now it's
mind
in your
you,
mind.
The gym is my alone time, bro. Like, the gym is where I decompress. The gym is where I really like block everything out. And it's like, bro, that's trauma. You know what I mean? And I really think that these are the things that people don't talk about. The trauma of living in America, right? And the trauma when these racist things happen. And although you're not directly affected, you are affected. Because there's a ripple effect that pretty much hits every last one of us.
It does. So switching gears, right? All this money and violence, right? It took, what was it, like 2013, 14?
No, it's 2015.
2015. It took the internet and the hood by storm.
Storm.
Man,
Chokehold.
you had people running home like 106 and Park was on. Where did this come from? And explain the origin and how this came from, and how that impacted the community from your perspective.
All right, so for quite some time, I had been looking for a way out, right? And when I say a way out, all I mean is I was looking to find what that vehicle would be that would, take me to the next level of success. That would allow me to not have to do some of the things that I was doing at the time. And, I had tried to do everything, bro. Like I told you, I did music. I had a clothing line. That didn't work out. I had a media website. That didn't work out. Well, at the time, I still had Cloud9TV.net.
Yeah.
And my film was just the next thing. Like, I literally was laying in my bed one morning and I was just like, yo, what's the next thing I haven't tried? And I'm like, you know what? Film. You know what? So at the time, me and my boy were living together. I went and knocked on his bedroom door and I'm like, yo, bro, I think I want to do a movie. And he was like, you want to do a movie? I'm like, yeah. So he's like, all right, let's do it. You know what I mean? And I bought a camera, went and bought a microphone, wrote 2 scenes, learned how to edit off of YouTube, and I pretty much put it together. Now, 2 months into it, I only had about 18 minutes of footage, and I was like, this is taking too long, because originally Money and Violence was supposed to be a movie. So then I decided, you know what? I'm gonna make this 18 minutes the first episode. I'm gonna put it out, I'm gonna make this a web series. And I literally put it out 2 weeks later. And for the next 7 months, I had 6 days every week to write, shoot, and edit the next episode. So when that episode came out Tuesday at 8, the next morning, I didn't even know what the next episode was gonna be.
Like, damn,
That's crazy.
Shit, I don't even know.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
And I did it for 7 months straight. And it's so crazy because the reason I did the show was I felt that there's an element that's missing from our communities, right? And that element is the voice of the OG. You know how like when we grew up as kids, you always had the dudes on the block, yo, shorty, come here, man. Like, whatever. Give you a couple of nuggets of wisdom and things like that. Or if they saw you veering off to the left, yo, shorty, you don't need to be doing that.
That's missing now.
That it's missing.
It's gone. Fuck missing.
Yeah.
And it's gone. These kids have no morals, no street code, no nothing.
But I also think I can't even really put them to blame because I think that the adults now want to be young so bad that they value youth so much that they're pretty much willing to compromise their wisdom or their intelligence or dumb themselves down just to be accepted by the younger generation.
Yeah.
So Money and Violence was actually my way of being able to speak to the younger generation. Like if you guys watch the show, you know that there's always morals, there's always lessons in there. It's all about principles. You understand what I mean? And that was the whole aim of the show, man. Like in all honesty, and I think that it's just like they always say, the sun will always shine. I think truth will always resonate. You get where I'm coming from, and I think that's why the show succeeded so much because everybody loved the show. I'm talking about from the young.
Crazy,
bro, I done had a 60-year-old Chinese man stop me one time like, Money and Violence.
I think one of the, obviously like being from Flatbush, of seeing the scenes like, yo, like I was just here yesterday, I shot this shit, like it's crazy. But for me, one of the few things that really made a big impact on our community was seeing it happen as though it was happening in real time for us. Because a lot of times you'll like watch a show that's been filmed however many years ago, all the process out of that, when it finally comes out, it might not be as connected. But we're literally watching this as like, you might see a store that has, a sale for sale. It's like, I just shopped there. Like I've seen it, like I know what it is.
The Labor Day parade was Tuesday, was Monday, and the next day we was
like there was a scene, somebody tried to get Migs or whatever, and in my man's lobby. And I was like, I just left home your crib. Like when did y'all shoot this shit? Like y'all waited for me to leave the bluff in my parking spot? Like, so it really transcended in the sense like people, especially in our community, like I said, and that's something that we were all seeing all the time in our lives. Like we're watching these same people do these same things. We know the race, we know the Migs, we know the blacks. Like literally, shout out to my man Stripe. But like, that's what made it so impactful for us. Cause like, we're watching something happening as though it was like News 12 is outside recording this as it's going on. And we're getting the inside thought process of why things are happening. And like you mentioned just now with having certain moral codes, the character Rafe would always say like, he would always have different sort of sayings, the different things, the principles of teachings that he would tell Kane or whomever or whatever. And you would see like, they wouldn't heed it. And then
see the consequences.
you'll see the consequence later. And that's something that was happening all the time for us. Even today, for a lot of people, like somebody will tell you something, you're like, nah, I'm gonna just still try it this way. And the consequence happened, then you come back, it's like, I see what you're talking about. But unfortunately, in that line of life, you don't often have the chance to come back and say nothing because it's clipped for you.
Go ahead.
It's a question for you now. So how you said you did it for 7 months, you shooting week by week. How would you capable of doing that with a full cast, making up lines and getting everybody there on time to shoot? Explain that difficulty.
And you got a whole family.
Yeah, how you juggle all that? Because that's a lot.
And you have mad black actors.
Well, you know, my daughter on the show is my actual daughter.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. It wasn't easy. It wasn't. It wasn't. If you want me to be honest with you, the hardest part was the beginning, because you have to understand that once the attention started coming, everyone wanted to be a part. So everybody, ain't nobody not showing up.
You know how much times I reached out to y'all to get on my If you checking DMs now, I'm probably in there like, bro, I don't know what you're doing.
Listen, you probably in a sea of 1,000 DMs, man.
I know.
But yeah, like, I would like to say that at the beginning, it was all about love, right? And it was all about my people's belief in me, you know. Whether it was Ms., Kane, Shane, or whatever, like I came to them with this idea, like, look, yo, this is what I want to do. And they was like, all right, so let's rock out. You know what I mean? At first it was like, we gonna act? And I'm like, look, we have to act. You know, I said, because if this goes anywhere, we don't want to give anybody the power to be able to stop it. You know what I mean? So it has to be us. And you know, like they believed in me, man. Like I have to say that even with, you know, however the situation worked out with Miz, you know, and we don't mess with each other no more. But at the end of the day, like I can honestly say, like, yo, he believed. You know, he believed, and it's unfortunate that things ended up the way that they ended up. But
now, and to cast these folks, like, were these all people that you just knew and said, "Hey, come and do this," or did you like set out auditions? Like, how did you get these people?
I was looking.
I don't know the process of how this was. Like, did you just call anybody up, like, "Yo, you fit this person"?
People I knew, or people who knew people I knew, right?
So I got this homegirl.
But hold on. But all the people, before we started this episode, all the people that we crossed circles with, how the hell we didn't end up on this shit, man? Steve, you gotta be better.
Yo, bro, it's so crazy because it was so easy to get on that show. Like, when I tell you,
let me tell you, I was supposed to be on the show, right? The scene, Shane, right?
Yeah.
Because at the time I was working the armor truck.
Okay.
And they wanted to do a scene where they robbed the armor truck.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, yeah, but I don't know. I'm
really on the clock right now.
Yeah, I'm like,
this
yo,
is real money.
A few scenes like in the trunk, like, but like, as far as like, because I'm like, somebody might really think like some real
something's happening.
Or your boss see it and say, whoa.
Nah, the boss, it'd be a person
police.
because I was working the time. I was on Far Rock. You know, they from out. So I was working and by like what's that shit called? Over by the sea. Like it's like when you get like a little nice, but I'm like, you can't, because we said can't be in the hood, it gotta be somewhere. We was a little bit brainstorming, but I'm like, it's just gonna look bad. It could look like
listen.
Say we shoot in the scene, like you're like, no, that's not it. Do it again. I'm like, nah, bro, I can't do it again. You got
like dispatch already calling me. You got one time.
It's so crazy where we began and where we ended, because, you know, all those shootouts and everything, season 1, like we pretty much just did, you know. And I remember one day we were shooting the shootout scene, and the detectives would drive by, and they literally drove by, and then they circled the blocks. I'm like, okay. So as soon as they circled, you know, I took the camera, put the camera on my neck, and I was waiting for them in the middle of the street, you know, and they pulled up, and I was like, hey, officers, you know, just wanted to give you a heads up. What we're doing, we're actually shooting this weekly YouTube show that we shoot, blah, blah, blah. I said, like, yeah.
Calm them down.
Because they're like, yeah, because, you know, we saw the guns and the guys shooting each other, but there was no sounds. Nothing was happening. Like, I'm like, yeah, you know, it's just a show we're shooting. So they was like, all right, cool. They was like, you know what, we'll get on the walkie-talkie and just let the officers in the area know. Because that's another thing that I've learned. I I mean, which is something I've always abided by, but something that I learned from shooting that show is that respect will get you so much further than disrespect.
Of course.
And I think that that's something that our people really need to learn, because, you know, I constantly watch these videos with these people getting shot down by the cops. And it's like, bruh, just get handcuffed and go to jail. Like, stop fighting. You know, and people are like, oh, but white people resist. All right, but we have to be aware of who we are and where we are. You understand?
We ain't got that privilege.
Right, we don't have that privilege. You understand where I'm coming from? And because to me, it's just like me. You get stopped by a cop, you can do one of two things, right? You can give him your paperwork, he can do what he has to do so he can be on his way, or you can mouth off and risk him pulling you out the car. Now he wants to arrest you. It's not worth it.
It's not.
Especially if you know your stuff is clean. It's like, yo, you're gonna be out of there in 2 seconds. But
Even if it ain't, just get it over with, bro.
It's
It don't make no sense to prolong the inevitable.
To
Like,
me, it's just not worth it. Like, what do you resist? Oh, put my hand behind my back. All right, officer. That's it, man.
I mean, at one point, you guys, with the show, had like a TV deal.
Yeah.
Right.
After season 1, we got to deal with Lionsgate, right? Well, Lionsgate Films. And then Lionsgate took us to pitch to a whole bunch of different networks, and Starz had picked up the show, right? What a lot of people don't know, because, you know, I'm not the type of person to really speak on things until they manifest. Like I always say, I let the work speak for itself. Like I really didn't put that out there. Money and Violence was actually supposed to be the next show after Power. So Power Book 2 was supposed to be Money and Violence, right? We were in development with Starz for 2 years. And then, you know, your man Curtis Jackson swooped in the last minute and threw the monkey wrench, you know, which I'm not even upset about. Like, at the end of the day, that's the nature of business, to do what's best for you. You understand what I mean? So that's exactly what he did. Like, I'm not mad at it, but I'm still in talks with a couple of different networks.
So it's coming back.
Listen.
Because I'm
listen, you already got my DM. Just scroll up.
Let's put
We
it this way.
We naturals on the camera, you know what I'm saying?
Let's put it this way. If it doesn't happen, it'll be because I died. You understand what I mean? Because I'm gonna die trying to get that show back. And look, a lot of people say, yo, man, won't you just go back to the basics?
Nah.
Right? At this point, I can't. I can't, for one or two reasons. For one, because the audience deserves more than that. And for two, because the point where the storyline has reached, where we got problems with the cartel, like 12 people died, you need police involvement, blah, blah, blah. Bruh, we need a budget.
Yeah.
We need a budget. If we're gonna do it right, we need a budget. And at the end of the day, I would rather bow out as the best thing that ever was than to go and try to force a season. You're only as good as your last win. Then we're gonna be remembered by this half-ass season.
Yeah, you don't want to be Jordan on the Wizards.
Exactly.
Yo, how'd y'all get T.I. on the show? That was fine. Because, like, when, like, you know, obviously, like, people might hear things going on, but then when you actually see T.I. on the show.
Right over there, please.
On,
I'm sorry, cameraman choking. You're all right, man.
don't die. You need some water.
Can't die behind the camera.
you can't edit this shit.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, so how did that happen? Like getting like T.I. like these celebs on the show, like are they reaching out to you guys, or you guys reaching out like, hey, what's going on? Because to get T.I. to Brooklyn to come do the show, for us, we was like, oh shit,
that was huge, right? That was huge. We got T.I. through my old manager, Teddy Altafar. He has like connections with Rock Nation, and he presented it to T.I., and T.I. was with it. You know,
That's good. I thought you sent a DM that you know.
No,
Mine was probably right before T.I.
Not at all.
It's cool.
But he presented it to him, and he was with it. And you know what a lot of people don't know, the crazy thing is, T.I. did that for free.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, he once again, I mean, someone else who believed. You understand what I mean? And he thought the show was dope, and you know, we paid for his travel. That was about it. But yeah, he came and he did it. And I mean, and I think he did an amazing job. Like, he was hilarious.
So, I would have did it for free too. I ain't gonna lie.
So now,
just throwing it out there, you feel me?
Like you go into that point, because I was wondered at, and I see some people, because we talked about how you led up to that point of doing that because you did so many other things. Because you ever think of a person like I look at Jay-Z, let's say, like, did he ever look at himself and like, all right, I'm gonna be Jay-Z? Like the level at Jay-Z is almost the level of untouchable in a sense. You pretty much are on that track in your own way because you're doing things and you progress, regardless of the fact that things, money and violence, you have to take a step back to a certain degree. But I wouldn't say you're taking a step back. You're kind of just looking at it for foreseeing. You're walking back and foreseeing what it is. But then you start off as a YouTube, film and then series, and it's progressing. Things have to change, like regardless of the fact. I'm sure like the people that's rocking with it.
Of course.
People want to get money. People want to get involved. Like you said, T.I. did it for free, but then T.I.'s T.I. Because you always see that people get to a certain level that it's almost become free because you're just now in a community now. But what changed for you, because now you said you American Gods, Godfather Harlem. Like you're in a different room now. Like regardless of the fact you humble, we here talking, you're a very humble dude, but then you're in a different room. But then around you, things aren't as humble, I'm sure, anymore.
I mean, listen, a lot has changed. I've always said that I've lost more from money and violence than I could ever gain. I've everything that I've lost, what it cost me to get to this point, I'll never be able to get back. You know what I mean? And it's because like I've lost close friends. I mean, both in just relationships severing and I mean, even death. You understand what I mean? It's cost a lot. It really did. And sometimes, I ask myself, like, was it even worth it? And the reason being is like, before all of this, like I lived my life in the shadows, you know what I mean? And my intention wasn't to step out into the light. Like my intention with creating the show was never about fame. It was never, I'm like, I don't even like attention, bro. It was just literally, like I told you, like to speak to this younger generation, right? Because that's what it was all about, But then the attention comes with it. Then the crazy thing about the attention is people always think things are something that they're not, and people think that attention equals money.
Right.
And it doesn't.
But that's what people think today,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then when you add to that the fact that people don't know the business, right? People see someone on television, they think, oh, because you're on television, you're rich, and they don't even understand. It doesn't work that way, bro.
For free, I got no check.
It doesn't. It just doesn't work that way. You understand?
And once you do it, you gotta wait. Like if you're really in there, you do something today, you don't get paid until a month or 2 months later. Like,
Bro, but how about this? That show got so much attention that people don't realize it was never on TV. It was on YouTube.
A free platform.
Free, right? Like you get pay for the clicks, but I mean like,
But still, it's not that much though.
that's what I'm saying. Like it ain't network. It's right. It's not on.
Bro,
There's no way there.
It's so crazy because, like, I saw somebody at Diddy one time. It was like, Diddy, pay Miz $1 million to come back the money and violence. And it's like, that's really how you think it works? Yo, like...
Did he go back to, all right, cool.
Yeah.
That's it? But
Here we go.
This is
back on TV,
y'all
y'all.
think it works?
There's no way there.
Yeah.
People don't
Bro, this is business. At the end of the day, the means has to justify the end.
Right.
What people don't realize is, bro, I've never made nothing off of that show. And that's what I had told everyone the first 2 seasons, like, yo, the play is for us to get to TV.
keep grinding.
The play is for us to get to television. Now, at the end of the day, I write the show. I direct, I edit. So when Lionsgate comes, who do they want to talk to? Me. They don't care about talking to no one else. You understand where I'm coming from? Because to them, everyone else is expendable, right? And then keep in mind, you're talking about Lionsgate that deals with George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Brad Pitt. You think they give a damn about some dudes that have no acting? You understand? So, but then the way people look at it oh, why are you the only one in these meetings?
That's where my
because I'm
question
the
is, like,
only
coming
one
in.
they want to speak to.
Because it's a different.
Right.
You're in a
You wanna
different
hold it
room
down,
now.
like,
It's-
wait, let me go in there.
It's
and make
Because it's like if
deals.
I don't write this, you're not doing anything anyway.
Bruh, it's,
So-
but this is what I'm saying, and people don't understand. It's so funny because Emory Jones, Jay's boy, had this conversation with me. He told me, he was like, yo, man, you know, that's when everything started kind of, and he was like, yo, bro, what are you people doing? You know, he said, yo, coming up, our goal was always protect Jay. Jay is who is going to get us where we need to be. Protect Jay. He said, why aren't your people protecting you? He said, everybody's so concerned with themselves
Ego.
that they don't realize, bro, this is who's gonna, just keep him protected.
You know what I think would, I mean, it's hypothetical, right? I think more people should learn how to play the game of chess. And not for just like on your phone, like actually play with people who know how to play, because it gives you an understanding of like, it's not to say that people are pawns and they're expendable like just to get rid of them, but there's a goal in mind. And sometimes some people have to, like, you know, think about it. How many times you go out, yo, my wingman, you got to take that one down. You got to take one for the team. Like, you got, like you mentioned before, like you have to understand, like there has to be a goal in mind. You all have to be knowing where you got to go. And it's not that, oh, we all have to reach the top together. You got to help somebody get to the top so they can help you get to the top.
Bruh.
But people don't have that. And also another thing that I could say more than anything else minority and black folks have is they need an instant gratification. They need that if I did this today, I need it to succeed tomorrow. And people don't want to put in the work of the long run. That's why people don't invest money properly. That's why people don't do a lot of things, because I need it to flip. I need it to work for my benefit tomorrow. And they can't watch something that they put together grow. I'm like this doesn't work that way. It's not
when we
life.
first started, like we would have never imagined having Rafe, you know what I mean, on the couch with us, like. But we just kept going. We just kept going. That's it. And
That's it.
eventually, someone's gonna see it. This is gonna get to where it needs to get.
Exactly.
Consistency and determination.
And it's so crazy because, like, from the beginning, I kept telling my people, like, yo, look, bro, at the end of the day, I want us all to be rich. But I need us to realize it's not gonna happen at the same time for everyone. Mm-hmm. Some people are gonna go first, some people are gonna go last. Some people may not go at all. But as long as the relationship is intact, the possibility is always there. Mm-hmm. You know, but in our communities, and another thing I learned too is be careful about chasing dreams with people who want success to get back at other people. Mm-hmm. Right?
Wow.
I'm telling you,
to get that back.
yes, bro.
And that's
because if that's your motivating
We ain't
drive,
the same. We ain't got the same.
then we're not the same.
ain't the same.
Because I want to do this to help while you want to do this to hurt.
Yeah, it's two different intentions. Mm-hmm.
You understand? And then what happens with those people is they are in such a rush that when it doesn't happen fast enough, they start looking for someone to blame.
And
they're not going to blame themselves. It's going to be
Yeah.
you. You know, and I always say, like, yo, bro, the hardest thing to do is to be the boss. And the reason being is this, right? When you're the leader, you're the boss. The employee can steal from the job and go, yo, I'm doing what's best for my family. Mm-hmm. And everybody's gonna agree. But when the boss says, yo, I'm gonna have to dock your pay because I have to do what's best for my family, you are the biggest piece of shit. Bro, you understand what I'm saying? And it takes tough skin.
What? You drink my shit. I check $200.
Yo, and it takes tough skin, but I'm built for it. You understand? If there's one thing about me is the fact that, bro, I'm comfortable in my own skin. And there's nothing you can say about me. There's nothing that's ever gonna make me believe that I'm something I'm not. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So
What you saying?
Some people don't know how to just practice humility. Like everyone wants, their ego is so high. They're so driven on just being better than someone else when like everybody can be you.
But let me tell you what's crazy. Let me tell you what makes it a crazier situation. When you're dealing with someone that you did business with way before money. Like I always tell people, bruh, I had a beautiful big ass loft downtown Brooklyn before money and violence. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I was doing pretty well for myself. You get where I'm coming from? And the truth is, the money that I saw doing the things that I shouldn't have been doing, I still haven't made that type of bread yet. You understand? But when you and someone were making all of this money together, and there was never an issue, never an issue, bro, never. And then you come to realize that as soon as attention comes into play, that's when the problems start. Because now, you know, and it's so funny because I remember having conversations telling people, yo, never start seeing yourself through the world's eyes, because the world doesn't know you. The world is gonna build you up, you know, and success is like a sense, it's like a full sense of flying, right? Because you think you're above everyone, not realizing the people you think you're above is who's holding you up. And they can drop you in a second, you know. And I think the most dangerous, if you want me to be honest with you, what I've come to learn is the most dangerous thing isn't money, it's attention. It's fame. That is the most dangerous thing in the world.
Ego
bro. It's ego. Yeah, it's ego. Because, and the reason being is because very few people are truly comfortable in their own skin. Very few people don't have insecurities. So when they get that attention, it just builds them up and builds them up and builds them up to the point where when they look in the mirror, they're not even really seeing themselves.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people, I mean, we've all come across those type of people, like you said, it's not a money thing. Like somebody could just be an average, quote unquote, Joe, and they're such attention seekers that they'll cut everybody down, and they'll be like, bro, it's really for nothing. Because shorty still don't want you. Like you doing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like regardless of what it is for that job, like whatever it is.
We call those extra niggas.
That's a fact.
It's like what you
Like,
said.
you doing too much.
It's so true, because I always look at, I try to say it to my kids, or even anybody I talk to, like, you look at the city lining, and when you look at Manhattan, you see the city lining. There's a bunch of buildings there. Some are tall, some are short. But at the end of the day, you look at them, everybody that owns is a millionaire. So at the end of the day, I don't care, yo, you the Empire State Man, I might be the Sears Tower, I might be whatever, but then we all eating. So at the end of the day, what am I worried about? I'm in the city though, like I'm in the room. So it's just like, that's what you say about being, and I'm gonna go on that. I had a question for you, because you talking about being comfortable in your skin. Then I know before you saying about men, and it's pretty much just like I think I probably more so speak about it, because I wouldn't say maybe, I am passionate, I'm a man of myself. So when the man is very in his skin, I had a saying, I think I said in one of the episodes past, like a man that's unstable, emotionally unstable with a woman is like probably the most dangerous man in the world.
Watch the ID channel.
Huh?
That's nothing but emotional men.
So it's just like, and I always say, if a man ain't in his comfort, because honestly, I'll be real. I was having a conversation with a girl. I was like, I think men are the most insecure beings more than even women. Because at the end of the women, a lot of time, the insecurity is what is foreseen. Like you can see it. Like, you got your body shape. I ain't got a big ass or this and that. But a man, at the end of the day, you don't see his insecurities. So at least you can sit there and say, like, yo, man is bald. Yo, you could just, you shave off your head. You joke about it. He could be just cool. He shave his head. But honestly, like, I find like a lot of women, they get attracted to a dude that's bald because he takes on his comfort of what he's bald. He shaves it off. And I joke around, whatever. But no different than the guy. He's short. I'm a short dude. I would tell you, say, hey, he's short. Like, I got a 6'2" spirit. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm cool who I am. But then, like you say, when a man is very insecure with it, I think all those things come apart too.
Of course.
With that, especially like I said, with you, because when you saying these things about your growth and everything like that, I'm like, there's no way you could grow like that without having some type of security with yourself. Like, yo, I'm good. Like, next thing on, whatever. So like, on your part, like, and then you doing these type of shows, what will be your take on that as far as like, if there's another kid that's out there that's trying to be a producer, there's another person that's trying to do the same thing. Like, I'm sure that being secure is very important, but then there's other sides because you're there. So,
I mean, listen, I would recommend anyone who wants to enter the entertainment industry, bruh.
It's open.
Yo, it's rough, right? And the reason I say it's rough is you're basically putting yourself out there to the world, right? To be commented on, to look. It's like I always say, they're not looking for a reason to like you, bro. They're looking for a reason to not like you. You know, that's what I always used to say when we were shooting Money and Violence. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, no.
But some people.
When I say that, it's not about you defining yourself by what they think. It's about understanding what you're entering. You get where I'm coming from? Because sometimes people get caught off guard because they didn't anticipate that this is what was coming. You understand? You see it all the time. People on social media turn off their comments. Why? Because people are saying crazy things. Bruh, listen, and all the time I've been on social media, and there was a time when for like a year, 2 years straight, they were calling me a thief, this, that, blah, blah. I didn't give a damn. Never turned my comments off, read every last comment, like, okay, whatever. You understand? And the reason being, early on in this, during the first season, some dude commented under one of my posts, yo, you a punk. You know what I'm saying? You got this, you let this dude bully your man's little brother. So I'm like, yo, who's calling him punk? So then I'm like, wait a minute. He's not talking about Moses. He's talking about race. Like,
you wouldn't get emotionally invested to the characters.
Yeah, no. They can't separate.
And it's
that's
fine.
You wait, that's it.
And it's fine.
Forever.
Because still to this day, people stop me in the streets, they call me Rafe. You know what I mean? But in the same breath, I understand that Rafe and Moses aren't the same person. You know, I've watched actors on my show really begin to believe that they're the characters they're playing, and that's the danger.
That's dangerous, bro.
I watched.
The Dark Knight died. Like, he played
Bruh,
the Joker so bad that he just overdosed.
But it wasn't that. It wasn't that. If it was a method to do the best role possible, that's fine. The problem is you have people who would prefer to be the character rather than be themselves because they receive more attention and more respect from being the character. You see, me, I've always said it. Mo isn't playing Rafe is playing Mo. You understand what I mean? So I could care less about Rafe. Like, I've gotten attention and respect just from being myself. So it doesn't top for me to be this other character. You understand? But also, touching on what you were saying, like even as far as the whole emotional instability as far as men is concerned, I think that that's the dangerous thing with what's going on with people wanting men to get so in touch to their emotions, right? Bro, we're not built for that. We're not. Because, like you said, an emotional man is a very dangerous man. You know, and God designed us the way he designed us for a reason. We are not good at dealing with emotions, bro. You know, because when we get emotional, we get lost in it. Bro, emotions cause me to rob a bank.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
That's the title of this episode, y'all.
That's the type of emotions you get. We going there with it. We going to the top.
Right.
But do you
it causes so much instability.
But do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that it's not good for us to speak out our feelings. I just feel like these days, when I meet women and they go, oh, something's wrong with you because you don't cry. And I'm like, I'm a man. Mom, I'm so tired of people trying to redefine masculinity.
Right.
Just real quick.
I don't cry because I'm a man. Okay, I'm not saying there's something wrong with crying. I'm saying, and if I do, I do it to myself, right? Because it's a catch-22, right? A weak man is not a good man. A good man is a dangerous man that has the discipline to keep that under control. Because all these horrific acts that are happening, these mass shooters, it's weak men that's doing that. So this whole thing with, they want you to be more sensitive, right? But it's like this gray area because at the same time,
I want you to be soft.
At the same time, they also kind of look at you like you're weak for it. Because masculinity.
I feel like it's more along like, I 100% agree with you. And also too, when they're saying, you know, be more open about it, you know, be soft about it, cry about it. It's more of a control factor from their perspective than it is you actually just being in tune to who you really are or whatever.
When you're being emotional, you're in their arena.
Yes,
that's
right.
their arena. So
Exactly.
it's like you can't win that.
Right. So like trying to have a conversation with somebody and you're emotional or whatever, you look back days later like, why the fuck? I would never say that shit. No, but you said it because you are now not who you are. You allowed yourself to be another version of you to appease them. And that's all that happened.
My lady told me, she said, if I walk down the aisle and you're not crying, I'm gonna turn back around and do it again. I told her, you can just not walk down because I'm not gonna try. Like, what the fuck am I crying for? Yo, I pledged for 4 months, and I'm not trying to call my line brother soft or nothing, but like at the ceremony, they're crying. I'm looking at them, what the fuck is y'all crying for?
And it's yeah,
Like,
and
I get it.
and it's okay.
It's cool.
And it's
It's
okay
cool,
if they
but
cry.
that's
It's just not for you.
That's not me.
And that's my problem.
People gotta stop making things
My
not good
problem
for you.
Yes, it's not
exactly.
for everyone.
It's not me.
And let me tell you something. So, when my family that looks to me for hope, when my family that looks to me as the rock, when my family that looks to me for safety in times when they are afraid, when they look to me and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Bro, they're gonna feel hopeless. What do the people of Earth do when Superman's crying? And Superman's like, what are we gonna do?
Like, shit's over now.
And listen, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with crying. If as a man, if that's what you want to do, fine. It's just not for me.
It's just not.
That's all.
I can't, bro. I can't. Like, I don't even remember the last time. No, the last time I cried was my grandfather died. But before that, bro, I can't remember.
Yeah, and I've cried before. I cried when my boy died. When my boy died at his wake. You know what I'm saying? Look, if it hurts, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, but I'm not just gonna cry just because you think I should cry.
Like I always say, one time a girl said it, that'd be it for me. But I was just like, she was just like, oh, you have no emotion. I was like, I have emotion, I'm just not emotional.
I get that all the time.
And then she was just like, yeah, you don't. I'm like, yo, but I have emotion. I'm not a heartless person. I just don't be emotional. Like I don't.
You know what's crazy? I had a female tell me that not too long ago, and I told her, I said, listen, so if I have no emotion, then what did you fall in love with?
Thank you. Exactly.
Yo, like if I'm so heartless, then what did you fall in love with?
That's a
So
fact.
who really the heartless person is? That's it.
Yep.
So either something's wrong with me or something's wrong
Exactly.
with you.
Somebody get down with you.
Manipulating.
Let's figure it out now. Let's.
All right, so before you wrap it up, right? So one last question for you. What do you, Mo, love most about fatherhood?
Oh man, wow. I mean that's a hard question, bro. Because I love being a father, right? The crazy thing is, my oldest daughter was planned, right?
I want to ask you, how old were you when you had your oldest daughter?
I was 20.
Okay.
And she was planned. And I still remember saying this to her mother, that, okay, so I was born in Brooklyn. When I was 3 months old, my mother sent me to Haiti because she was unstable, right? So she sent me to Haiti to be with my aunt. And I was in Haiti from the time I was 3 months old to the time I was 3 years old, right? And it's so crazy because my earliest memory is when I was 3 years old, when they sent me back to America and my mother chasing me through the airport and me running from her because I didn't know who the hell she was. And now as I get older, I come to realize it's my earliest memory because it was traumatic. You know what I mean? Because they you rip me from everything I know. For those 3 years I was in Haiti. That was the world I knew. You send me to another country to go live basically a stranger. And me and my mom's, like I told you, my mother wasn't that affectionate. So when I was like 19, I told my girlfriend, I said, I don't know what it feels like to be loved unconditionally. And I want to have a child because I need to I need to know what that feels like. I need to know what it feels like to have someone that's going to love me no matter what. And, then I had my first daughter. And I think that's what I love the most is the love, and the purpose that it gives me, right? All of these things that I've done, I wouldn't have been able, I don't know if I would have had the drive to do if I didn't have children, because they're always my driving factor. They're always my motivating factor. I got up one day, years ago, way before Money and Violence, and I wrote a book. Got up one day and was like, you know what? I wonder if I could write a book. I'm gonna write a book. 3 years later, wrote a book. But part of what was driving me was I want to show my daughter I could do this, right? And I've always said this, that as my kids get older, I want them to go, I wonder if I could write a book. Of course I could. That's what my dad do it. I wonder if I could do a film. Of course I can. That's what my dad do it. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy because my 23-year-old, she put a post on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and she said, my dad is the reason why I know I can do anything in this world. You know, like he is literally proof. And
I feel good.
yeah, it's crazy because I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying
So you
this.
gave me goosebumps just now. That ain't even my daughter.
Yeah.
My kid, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, bruh, listen. My daughter wrote this. When my 18-year-old, when she was 12, she texted me at midnight on my birthday, and she sent me this text, bruh. Yeah, I wish I had it to read to y'all. Like, when I tell you, it was just, and the craziest thing that she said in the text was, Dad, I know you would do anything. You would do anything in this world just to make sure I'm good, you know? And the reason that kind of resonated with me is because, you know, we're not perfect, right? We're all flawed. And your one hope is that you can treat your children in a way that conveys to them how much you love them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's the one hope, right? Is that before I leave this earth,
They know it.
that they know, like, yo, kid, I would jump out this window for you. Like, do you understand that? You know, and that was the thing about the message she sent was just that she knew, right? Like even when her mother died, and she told me, she said, Dad, I'm not gonna lie, like when mommy died, you know, she said I was in a fog, but she said, but the one thing I never questioned was whether I'd be good. Like, you're here. Like, I know I'm gonna be straight. You know, but the crazy thing is, because that's my question is, I wonder if the day will ever come that my kids realize that I needed them 1,000,000 times more than they ever needed me.
They didn't know, now they know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but I would say if the one thing I love most about being a father is just the love, man. Like, and it's the love that goes both ways, right? The love that you give, the love that you get to give, and the love that you receive. Because it's so funny because loving them changed my life, right? Loving them has caused me to make so many decisions. You know, even like when my daughter's mother died, and it was like, and it really dawned on me, like, yo, if anything happens to me, you know, like my daughter's on her own. And that made me stop a whole bunch of things that I was doing that I shouldn't have been doing. You know what I mean? Because to me, the scariest thought was to be sitting in a cell, knowing that my kid is out there in the world by herself. Like, I can't have that happen. I can't have that happen.
That's
Impossible.
that's powerful.
You know?
Oh, D.
Word. So before we wrap up every show, we go around the room and everybody gives their dad and tip of the week. It could be something related to just being a man, a parent, or something related to being a dad. So who wants to go first?
I mean, I'll start since we're right here, and I just want to, you know, pay you back.
What he
What
said.
Mo said. So, just while Mo was speaking, I think my dad and tip of the week would be to love. That's it. A lot of us try to, you know, hide that emotion and try not to show that, you know, there's something that we actually care about. Because I know my mom and dad both care about me. Although we didn't have these conversations, they didn't speak, I know they love me. And it's important to just show your love. Now, don't wait too long to show your love. Just show them that you love them. I know my son know I love him. He just know, like, he tell Daddy, I love you. And I know I love mommy too. And I know y'all love me. Like, he know we love him. And that's important for them to know, like, yo, you love him.
Dope.
It's cool. I ain't got nothing. Let me think. Give me like 2 seconds. All right, boom, I got it. Just like from what you were saying with the business of filming and how you got to deal with juggle everybody's personalities and things like that. A lot of people have to understand that. I mean, a lot of people won't. People won't understand it, actually. Like your ego. Your ego could kill you. And most of the time, egos are always kind of bad. Like if you think of like, it's not a good, ego's never attached to something good, because if it was, we don't call it egos. You know what I'm saying? It's confidence now. You know, it's good stuff. So we have to learn to stop making a habit of having egos, especially if we're friends. Stop, there's no purpose. So if you have an ego that bad, then we shouldn't be friends. That's just that's it.
What do I got this week for y'all?
I'm still writing this shit down.
Right?
I'm
I know, right?
I'm saying he going like, damn, it's almost me.
My turn.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, now it's shit going.
As y'all talking, my mind is working. Like, okay,
Right?
what am I gonna say?
I'm glad I'm gonna last, right? I would say for anybody, right? And it can go for no matter what field you're working in, and even just as a parent, right? I think always be networking. The other day I was coming home, a wagon full of groceries and stuff like that. Y'all should get a wagon. That shit saves lives, bro. Make one trip.
Wagon.
Yeah, one of those like foldable wagon joints.
Can't steal with a wagon, bro. It's just too hot.
No, that's not what you do with it.
Actually, you could if you do it right. If you
Listen, we don't give out too many secrets. But when you taking all that stuff out of the truck, you got to go upstairs to the house or whatever.
Them bags that they have you bring into the store was the worst thing they ever thought about.
Oh, yeah,
You don't
yeah.
know what I walked in here with, so I could already have them down in my car. Like, no, I came here with this.
Leave it to Steve. The reason I say that is I was coming in the building, and I saw one of our neighbors, and his son is running for the door. I'm like, yeah, where the hell are he going? He's like, oh, he's decided because he's going to swim. I'm like, oh, that's fine, because we've been looking for somewhere to do swimming with, but you know, the pandemic and so that it's hard as hell to get that. And I've told you guys before, I want to put them, in, my lady and my son and the mommy and me, because she's not a great swimmer right now until they don't do that. So I was just talking to him or whatever. He's like, yo, I go to this place. It's called this, that, and the third or whatever. They're great. They're good with the kids. He's doing extremely well or whatever case may be. So I started looking into it, and even though they're a little bit out of the way compared to a lot of other places, it looks like that's probably where we're gonna go with. And I say that to say, like, if I didn't just stand there and have a conversation with him about, you know, the kids and what's going on or whatever, like, I wouldn't be put on to something that's gonna help my children in the future. You know what I'm saying? I don't want them to jump into 20 feet and try to die like Sai. You know what I mean? So we just gotta help each other out, and that's why I say with networking, right? Like, if we didn't reach out, we wouldn't have more on the show. We wouldn't be where we are today. So it's always networking and being positive and putting that out there.
And that goes back to what Science said, the ego thing. If you was just sitting there like, nah,
I
ain't about to talk to this nigga. I don't want to know. Like
The way we grew up has taught us that. Like the way we grew up taught us you don't speak to people you don't know. You walk into a room to speak to someone you don't know is actually a sign of weakness, right? Like you're afraid. So it's so crazy because when I started in this industry, you know, I was very closed off, and my manager was like, bro, you cannot be like that. Like, you have to talk. And it took a while for me to kind of rewire myself. I mean, I'm still like that to a degree. Like, I'm very antisocial. You know what I'm saying? But once the conversation gets started, like, you know, we could talk for days.
Right.
But, and that's one of the disadvantages of growing up in the hood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you don't speak to people
That's a fact.
that you don't know.
But then you think about it too, right? A lot of times growing up in the hood, those OGs and those who's really get into it, like they know somebody, they know everybody. Like they know a guy for this, they know somebody for that, they know it is. Oh yeah, now I got somebody for this, somebody for that. So it's like a closed network, but you know, we understand why it's closed off, but yeah.
Network is, I mean,
And
network is
that's the
definitely
only
important.
reason why I DM'd you back in the days, because I said, you know what? If I don't say nothing, he'll never know. Even though he didn't read the DM.
You gotta find a better way to get the
I
message
didn't say
across.
that, but
No, but give me,
good now. I got your number. It's
yeah. Shoot me a text, man. Shoot me a text. 'Cause
That's a fact.
I'm always looking for actors.
I know. I'm waiting on you guys to finish what you have. Man. I already locked in.
Go on ahead, man. Go ahead.
Close it out.
Don't let other people's fears stop you from things that you could champion. Basically, meaning like, don't let people like us, like, you know, I've seen people when we talk, oh, I want to do a podcast. So, well, I don't got no time. I don't got that. Like, cause they fear they don't have time, or they fear they're gonna fail. So that fear and then had nothing to do with the next person. You go out there and do that. Don't let other people's fears literally be the conduit for you. That's their problem. Like, you scared of something, ain't my problem. Then one less person that I gotta worry about when I go and champion this shit. So that's my best advice, or my dad and tip, you know, tell your kids, tell everybody that. And funny enough, too, I DM'd you too. But he responded back to me. I was like, yo, you need some beats for the show.
Oh, yeah?
He responded, he's like, nah, I ain't doing nothing right now.
Oh,
But you
okay.
responded, so I don't know. Maybe Steve
Might have been a bad day, bro. Like I said, because you know that mailbox gets full, man.
I
Like,
think it was Steve's approach, man. You don't know how to talk to people, man.
You got to DM around the right time.
yo, you
Like 7 years ago. I don't know. That probably was my approach.
Yo, you ain't I was about to say, you ain't DM me like, yo, bro, what's good? Did you?
I probably was. That was 7 years ago. I ain't know
That
no
was
better.
good. I'm trying to get
I ain't
on.
know no better 7 years ago.
I get it. Like,
Now it's like, you come correct.
yo, bro, I have dudes that send me, like, they'll send me a picture of them with a gun, like, and I'm like,
Like your fan.
like a real gun, like,
we coming on this show,
bruh.
nigga. You
Like,
you got warrants. They gonna see you go, we got him.
Dating yourself.
like,
got warrants.
yo, bro, you don't understand the things people send me, and
I can only imagine. People
you know,
are nuts.
and yeah, but I'm not even mad at it because it's just, once again, it's the things that they learned growing up with it, where they grew up, right? And to them, that's supposed to mean something to me.
Right.
You get where I'm coming from?
But it's also what you mentioned before, right? They haven't disassociated Mo from Rafe. So they're saying like, yo, Rafe, what's up? You trying to go get a pack? And it's like, that's not a real
we in
person.
reality.
Yeah,
Like, what are we doing right now?
but
I'm going home to my family.
But
No.
I also think that there's a switch. As a young black man growing up in the hood, there's a switch that you have to turn off when you get a certain age, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I got to a certain age, I realized, yo, wait a minute. I cannot thrive in the real world operating by the rules that I learned growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And all this is gonna do is hold me back. And once again, like, it's a switch that you have to turn off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the world doesn't operate by the rules of the block. And what we don't realize is the block is this big a percentage of the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these same walls that we think keeps us protected are actually what keeps us confined.
Yep. You gotta have like a dimmer. Cause sometimes you be at work in some of these meetings, and you be like, I'm about to turn this shit the fuck up, cause y'all got the wrong one. But you know, I think Styles might have said it, I don't know how many episodes ago, but it's like, sometimes when you're in those rooms, like, you know, those are some of the most like gang people affiliated. So you gotta know how to move with those people without fear and let them know like, yo, like I can maybe.
I definitely said that.
Like I don't have to get on some
Say a lot of
rah
shit.
shit. Like I'm smart enough and intelligent enough that I can kill you at your own game based on the way that I learned how to move outside.
I always say that there's so many different types of gangsters in this world. And the truth is the gangsters on the street are nowhere as close to as devious and malicious as the ones in the boardrooms. Because I'm telling you, these people will literally take your entire life from you, bro, and feel no way about it.
Not at all.
Not only will they will take
Everything.
Yeah,
generations, bro.
Yeah, you no longer exist, and they go get a drink afterwards.
They will rob you for generations
So
and feel
you got a
absolutely
daddy
no
tip
way.
for the people?
Yeah.
Even though you dropped mad gems this whole episode.
My dad tip is for the guys. And it's to just never forget that you're only human, right? The reason I say that is because as men, we tend to come down on ourselves when we make mistakes, right? We tend to be embarrassed. And you'd be surprised how many homes are fatherless, right? Because a man was going through financial troubles and he would rather avoid the embarrassment of letting the mother see him that way, you know? And who that hurts in the end is the child, you know what I'm saying? So my tip would just be to realize that, you know, we're only human, we're gonna make mistakes, we're gonna go through tough times. It doesn't define us, no matter what the world tells us. And if you make a mistake, all you have to do is apologize, acknowledge the mistake, and make the appropriate changes, and everything will be all right, man. You know? So guys, daddies,
Damn good
keep
daddy
trucking.
tip, man.
So this has been a fire episode. We appreciate you showing up with us.
Thank you for having me. Man. I had a
Let the
good
people
time.
know where they can find you. Let them know what's coming up next.
Y'all can find me You can find me mostly on Instagram, Cloud9TV _ that's CLOUD, the number 9 TV _. You can also find me on Twitter, although I don't tweet that often. My Twitter is @motivation. That's MOETIVATION. It's a really cool play on words because my name is Mo. And what's to come? Well, right now we're in production for the 3rd season of Godfather of Harlem. That should be airing in January. I also have a film that I rewrote that we're actually in the midst of acquiring funding for. It's called Son of a Snitch.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that should be coming. Nah, it's the movie is like.
It's okay. You gonna have my resume. You gonna have everything you need. You don't even gotta tell me now. Just when you send the script, I'll look through it.
And also as well, like I said, I just don't like to speak on things, but there's something else I'm working on with a very well-known NBA player. So hopefully that comes to fruition.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be a great project. And I mean, Money and Violence next season. Of course, I'm always working on that. The Spot. Also as well, there's an app. I acquired an equity stake in a streaming app called Vault. So y'all could download that. You could find the first 2 seasons of Money and Violence on there, as well as The Spot, as well as a whole bunch of other content. VAULT. You could download it right on your iPhone, Google Play, Samsung, whatever. You just have to search Vault Access. VAULTACCESS.
Got it.
So I'm part owner of that streaming app, and just trying to take it to the next level, man.
Maybe I should stream our podcast on there, you know what I'm saying?
Day by day. Hey, I mean, anything's possible.
That's right, put it out there.
Anything's possible.
Yeah,
Anything's possible.
Listen, we appreciate you. Also, shout out MJ, special guest MJ on the show with us this week. Listen, sometimes you just got to be dadding.
I told you he was sleepy.
Yeah, he was tired.
Definitely did say he was sleepy.
Right. And on that note, man, we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.